Officially welcome, Kim, and love to know, I'm sure everyone would love to know, lots of people know you already, but would love to know a little bit about you, so feel free to share.
Okay, so Kim here from Cape Town, South Africa. So I met Gemma on a course a few years ago, and then a while ago, a year or two ago, he did a podcast on highly sensitive people, HSPs, and just everything resonated, and I connected with you, and yeah, started to work with you. So my journey is I've always been an entrepreneur. I actually studied science. And then for the last 25 years, I have been an entrepreneur, starting businesses, building them up and selling them. And about 4 years ago, I went through a very difficult time where I made extremely unaligned decisions, which cost me my business. And yeah, it led to deep depression and wanted to take my life. And just a feeling of not even feeling anymore, just such an emptiness. And but there was always this little voice inside of me that told me that things can be different and this is not the way. And I started listening to that voice. And that's when I started working with you as well. And that was the day my life changed. And when I started listening to that little voice inside of me as well, my light language started, which I had absolutely no idea what it was, but I trusted. Until obviously I delved in deeper and found out, what light language was, and that it was actually messages that I was receiving and channeling.
Beautiful. So, thank you for sharing that, Kim. Such an amazing story, and what an incredible journey that you've had, entrepreneur in many different ways, many different businesses, and then, like many of us, you had that. I'm just keeping an eye in case any questions come through. Like many of us, you kind of reach that next layer of awakening where it's like something will happen and it just floors you, and that's an incredible kind of learning experience from that. And like you say, through that that shadow gift of that experience for you was your beautiful light language coming on. So tell us more about that, Kim. Like what happened? Like what was your experience of that? Did you just start speaking it? Like how did that happen?
Okay, this is a very vulnerable share. And I think I'm actually not sure if I've ever shared this. So if I may share it.
Absolutely. It's a safe space.
Ready to take my life. And as I sat there, my throat started tingling. And I started coughing. And these strange words started coming out of my mouth. And I stepped away from doing what I was going to do. And I got curious. And I just knew. I knew that my soul was talking to me. I actually have goosebumps all over saying this. So
I got goosebumps.
And yeah, I mean, how beautiful is that? That I was saved because I listened and I was given a message.
That is just so beautiful. I've got goosebumps all over, Kim. So that's just incredible that you're, well, sort of like the sort of small part of that was the fact that you had this inner voice and you started listening to it, and then actually you had this really profound experience where your soul took over and the light language just came through in that moment and sparked that. I think a lot of people watching have got that like curiosity in there as well, and I love that it then sparked that curiosity in you that then led you on the path that you're on now. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for being so vulnerable. And Kim and I, the other day, Kim, we were on a session, weren't we? And Kim and everyone, all the other participants were on, I can't even say it, like I can't say it because it excites me so much, I can't get it out. Kim and all the other participants were on mute and off screen, and I was facilitating a session, and as I was doing it, I suddenly started to hear light language coming through, like inside my head, and it was Kim's voice, and I was like, Kim, I think Kim's talking to me. Is she? Why can I hear Kim? So yeah, I could hear Kim with my clairaudience or whatever we were kind of connecting in. And then after the session, I messaged Kim and said, I could hear your light language. And Kim said, yeah, that's because I was speaking light language to you. A message was coming through for you. And I was like, wow. And I think even like, I know this stuff, I know like this is magical. But then to experience something like that, I was just like blown away again. I was just like, yeah, because I've heard you speak your light language, Kim, like obviously like on our calls and things. But to hear it like through the ether, I was like, okay. And then get confirmation that you were talking to me. That was just incredible.
It was incredible for me too that you actually heard it.
Mm.
And it's just so powerful. You know, this is magical.
So I love the thing that's really coming through, which was quite a similar message to the story that Amy shared last week as well, was around that inner voice. She was saying, like, you know, you start to hear that little just nudge, that little niggle, and then you start to follow that, and that kind of that soul's calling. So for anyone watching who, you know, who's maybe hearing that inner voice or is ignoring it, or maybe doesn't even know it's there. I mean, it depends where people are at in their journey. I imagine if they're here, you know, they're probably at least getting some little, you know, white feathers or niggles or nudges. So what would you say to those people watching?
I would say to the people, definitely listen. Even if you don't understand right now, stop and listen. And the most important thing, find the safety in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Because you literally cannot do anything until you feel safe in your body. You know, then you start trusting those nudges. Once you feel safe, you start trusting the nudges and you start following through. And that's when your clarity and your courage steps in. But you have to feel safe. And that is something that I am so grateful to you for, Gemma, because I mean, I battled with this for 4 years until I started working with you. And literally for the first time in my life, I feel safe in my body. I trust everything. Everything I feel, I trust. And I'm not scared to share it either.
So beautiful. Mm. Makes me want to cry when I think about that. I think, yeah, the safety thing is so important, and so many of us, you know, through what's happened in the past, you know, so many of us don't feel safe in our bodies, haven't felt safe in our bodies. And it really is that analogy I always talk about, the tree, like the deeper the roots of the tree can go, the higher we can go. And that's essentially what we've done, isn't it? In working together, we've got those roots really deep, and you've got those somatic practices and the positive psychology practices, getting those roots deep into the ground, and then the branches can grow. And I remember there was one call that we were on. I just remember, like, I remember sort of having this awareness that we were suddenly all in the 12th dimension. and we'd all had that same like information, hadn't we? We're like, we're all in the 12th dimension, and it's because we'd done that, you know, that deep inner work, the shadow work, the positive psychology practices, the finding the safety in the body. So those roots can go deep so that we can, you know, the branches of the tree can grow. And I know you've had like new light languages come through and things like that, which are, you know, I see that as like your branches. That is your, you know, your branches of the tree. You're able to go and access, you know, different parts of information because you feel safe to do so.
I love that. Yes, that's absolutely, because this year, well, actually in the last month, I definitely had a different light language, which felt more Egyptian, as we discussed, ancient. And in the last 2 weeks, a very fun, playful light language has come through that I actually start laughing. So that's another thing. Once you feel safe, you actually have fun. You find, you find the energy to bring that passion back into your life, whatever, whether it be dancing, playing with your dogs, or whatever it may be for you. But it's this consistency every day that I literally do something that I enjoy, that is just for me.
I love that. And that's such a simple thing, right? Isn't it? Find something fun every day that you enjoy, whether it's dancing, playing with the dogs, or yeah. And we know, like on a neuroscientific point of view, that's gonna massively, like for anyone watching, like this is what I rave about positive psychology, because like bringing in that fun and that joy into our lives is just so incredible for our brain. And that's just like the 3D brain level. Like when we then go into, okay, let's go beyond the 3D and energy, and actually what that vibration is doing to us on an energetic point of view, as well as like having those grounded roots in place. It's just amazing. So another thing that I'm hearing, and this is also quite consistent with a few other conversations that I've had, Kim, is that when you trust that niggle, when you trust that voice, you trust your body and you feel safe, your gifts naturally come, and the work that you're meant to do in the world kind of naturally comes, and the path. And I've obviously I've been through this myself, and but I just see it every time. I see it happen time and time and time again. And so many people say to me like, wow, like I say all we did, it wasn't all we did, but people say like, wow, like we did some shadow work and we did some positive psychology. And then I'm thinking about someone else that we both worked with as well. Like I can remember her saying like, oh my gosh, like these psychic gifts have just come on and I've gone up and I'm clearing entities and I'm doing this and I'm like, they just come on board. Can you speak more to that and that process?
It's all up to me for my to shine more and for me to trust my gifts. It comes from daily consistency, sticking to the practices every single day. And then I found that the feminine will lead and the masculine automatically comes in. The structure that you have in your business. When you feel safe, when you're doing your daily practices, grounding, meditating, clearing energy, you automatically you do the things that the masculine that has to be done in your business. So I don't know if that answers what you're asking, but there's a huge balance. When your gifts shine, you have to do the daily practices, you have to be consistent. Then your gifts shine automatically. And baby steps. Big thing I'd like to tell people is really take baby steps. And go back and count your wins. If I look where I am now to a few years ago, it is huge, but it took baby steps getting there. And the more that, and you know, every day taking the next baby step, my gifts shone more and more, and gifts I didn't even know I had came through.
Kim, thank you for sharing. Yeah, baby steps. And there is definitely something in that, isn't there? Allowing the feminine to lead. Because I think for a lot of us, we have, due to just conditioning or like past corporate lives or, you know, past pushy parenting or whatever that thing is, we're kind of like almost conditioned for the masculine to lead, aren't we? It's almost like, right, what are your, and certainly for me, like I experienced this when I first got into business. It was like, okay, you need to work out like who's your ideal client, be really specific. You know, how are you going to work? What websites are you going to use? And I remember the first like few weeks of my business, like setting up a website, and I was like, right, I've set up a website. Now everyone will just come. The website's there. Okay, great. It's just going to happen. And then obviously it didn't. Yeah, so many of us are led into that masculine, but actually, like you say, it's the feminine that leads. And I've seen that happen time and time again when I've actually, when I've done it, when I've stepped back and I've gone into surrender and I've given that space for that flow and that creativity, I naturally then just move myself into, okay, right, what are the masculine structures I need today? I'm looking at my planner as I talk, my very pink masculine structure book. When I have that spaciousness and I'm in that divine feminine energy, it then naturally leads me into, like you say, taking the small steps, taking the actions anyway. But if I lead with the actions and I get into that kind of stressy, pushy, hustle energy, it doesn't have the same effect. So yeah, I love the way you kind of phrase that. Let the feminine lead, and the masculine will come forward. You know, whether that is literally like the masculine energy of money, of the universe, of a partner or a friend, or the masculine within us. I think that's really beautiful. And that comes back to that analogy of a river. I remember we had a conversation about the river. Like we need the riverbanks, which is the masculine. But what comes first? It's the river, isn't it? The river comes first, and it's the river that creates the riverbanks as it weaves its way through, and the riverbanks hold it in place. So yeah, the river kind of goes where it's going to go, and it knows it's heading for the sea, but you know, it flows with how it gets there. And then through that process, the riverbanks are created and they come in and the trees grow, and that masculine structure is then created around it. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. So is there anything else coming through for you that you feel you'd like to share?
The message I've channeled this year, from the beginning of this year, is courage.
Mm-hmm.
It is time. It is time to embrace that inner power and lead with courage. And this comes through almost every light language transmission that I have. And then in the last 2 weeks, the fun was added to it. To get that courage, have fun in your life. Let it go. Sit back. Enjoy your life. Play. So that's the message I can give everyone today.
Oh, I love that. Courage and fun. What an incredible couple of things. I'm seeing like a lioness type energy with that. Like, you know, the courage of the lioness, and then like the play with the cubs. That kind of, that real fun courage-led leadership coming through. I think that's really, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So what tips would you give anyone watching to be more courageous, because people might be watching and thinking, oh, like I'd really love to be doing what Kim is doing right now and talking on this live, or sharing my light language. So for anyone thinking that sounds great, but how do I step more into that mode of courage, what would you say to them?
Back to safety in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So working on your nerves every day, especially as I'm sure many of your clients are HSPs.
Yeah.
So definitely feeling safety in your body. And then consistency, as I've said before, whatever daily practices you do, your grounding, your meditation, your clearing, those all count every single day. And it builds this inner power inside of you that actually leads to courage.
I love
So
that.
that's my journey.
And that very much goes against, which I say a lot, it goes against that phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We know that's actually bullshit, don't we? Because actually what does make you stronger and does make you more courageous is that safety, creating that safety in the body, like you say, creating that nervous system regulation and having those daily practices to tap into that joy and that fun. They are the things that lead to the courage. Like pushing through and grit does not lead to courage. And that is a big load of bullshit. I can think what the word is, but just keep using the word bullshit. That's actually not true. Like we know this neuroscientifically, and this is what I'm hearing in what you're saying, Kim. The safety, the small steps, the small actions, that leads to this big leap of courage and this like lioness energy. It's not the gritty pushing, and it never ever was it?
Wasn't ever, and that's what led to my burnout 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I was trying to be boys club,
Mm-hmm.
Being an entrepreneur is, you always looking, always have to push and do more, earn more, and that's what it led to. It led to me burning out, total disconnect from self. And now I know that is not the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the way to do business. No, you have to tap into your feminine, into your gifts. You have to get into flow and balance. You have to have fun. And then you will enjoy your business and it will be successful.
Love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like the big theme here is safety. Safety, small steps leads to courage. I think that's just, yeah, feminine led. That's why I keep thinking lioness. Feminine led. Yeah. In fact, you've probably got some lionesses not far from you somewhere, haven't you, where you are?
I've got a little dog lioness right next to me.
Oh, a dog lioness. That's cute. Oh, awesome. Well, we're coming towards the end of today's conversation, Kim, and it's been so lovely. I just love our calls anyway, and I love that we've been able to bring this into the group and bring this live. So you've been on the Quantum Alignment program. So is there anything that you would say to anyone thinking about joining?
I would say it will probably be the best decision you've ever made in your life.
That's powerful. Thank you.
Is life changing. And yeah, it is definitely the best decision I've ever made. I mean, I learned to trust myself. I learned to forgive myself. I learned how to clear the energy that didn't serve me. I learned to be courageous, that I could actually show up live and I could speak my message. So anybody who has any doubts, really, just all I can say to them, just do it.
I love that, Kim. Thank you so much. You are so amazing. You are just such an incredible woman. So it's been truly an honor having you live here with me today and having you in the programs and being in your company. So thank you. So last thing then, before we go, for those watching, if anyone would like to reach out to you, how can we get in touch?
I'm on Instagram, Soul Freedom Coach, and I'm on Facebook as well. And I do one-on-ones. And I'm thinking middle of April, I will be launching a 12-week course. But I will share more about that on my Instagram. I just had some light language come as we were ending the conversation.
That was beautiful. I want to cry. That was absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you. See the laughing? She loves laughing.
And for those of us that don't have the translator on, what is the English translation? A bit like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they put a fish in their ear.
Good translate. The message that came through was courage, power, and then at the end, fun.
Oh, I love it.
Now is the time to step into your power. So
my whole body feels like a flame after that. Thank you.